In the past couple of months, we have seen videos of Israeli soldiers doing absolutely horrific things. For instance, Israelis proudly spoke about kidnapping a Palestinian child.
הוא דיבר עם אחד החברים במהלך התקופה שלו בעזה, וסיפר שהוא באחד הבתים שהוא נכנס, הוא שמע בכי של תינוקת, והוא החליט שהוא מוצא אותה ושולח אותה לארץ.
They also made TikTok videos of themselves preparing to blow up a mosque. Can you believe it?
ותראו את התוצאה, איזו פריסה, איזו עדינות, איזו רכות, זה מגיע! זה הקדשנו למלא אנשים טובים, וכמובן למה זה אשתי, ובחיים שלי מתגעגע!
And in this video, as you're about to see, Israeli comedian Guy Hoshman dances, screaming to the Israeli public that all of Gaza is ours.
בעל הבית צריך להרגיש בעל הבית, אז עושים את זה כמו שצריך. אי אפשר לבזבז כזה מזג אוויר. הכל שלנו, שימו לב, תראו איזה טיילת, ועכשיו תכירו, החוף של נובה. איווה, החוף של עזה!
At the same time though, when Israeli politicians are addressing the Western world, we see a very different approach, a very different tone. They say they have no interest in killing the civilians of Gaza. They have no problem with the civilians of Gaza. It's all about Hamas. And Netanyahu has claimed time and time again, it's all about protecting civilians. Protecting civilians is a priority. And he's even gone as far as to claim that there is no army in the world, which is more moral than the Israeli army. But after what we've just seen, it's a bit strange, right? Something isn't fitting into place. Why do we keep seeing videos of Israeli soldiers, which they are releasing themselves, flying in contrary to the government narrative? Why doesn't the Israeli government sit their soldiers down and say, hang on a second, you need to stop releasing these videos. It's not with our narrative. The answer lies in something very, very basic and simple. There is a difference between public opinion inside Israel and public opinion outside of Israel. Outside of Israel, the Israelis have never been as less popular as they are today. For example, Yaakov Katz wrote in the Jerusalem Post of March last year that Israeli settlement policy is causing Israel on a global level to become isolated. And now, as we covered in our Ben Shapiro video, it can easily be argued that 90% of the world's population is against what Israel claims is a war on Hamas, with 153 nations voting in favor of a ceasefire. Israeli propagandists have to take into account this increasingly hostile international environment when designing and propagating their arguments. And this is why we see numerous continuous media appearances by Israeli individuals like Elon Levy reminding us, guys, it's about Hamas. Hamas is hiding equipment in civilian areas. It's about Hamas. Look at what Hanania Naftali is saying, the self-described Israeli who talks about peace. And then we have the Israeli ambassador to the UK, Zippy Hotevelli. The role of these propagandists is to cater for me and you, people who are sitting all around the world in the international communities, people in the UK, in Europe. They are catering to us. Their narrative is for us. They are given mainstream appearances and they travel around defending the actions of Israel, attempting to sweeten the image of the Zionist occupation. In this international environment, as we've seen, the high civilian death toll is justified because Hamas uses their people as human shields. Here, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and mass starvation is not a result of Israeli policy, but it's because of Hamas, because Hamas keeps on stealing the aid. This is what their narrative is. Domestically expressing concern about the humanitarian situation in Gaza is surprisingly actually unpopular. For example, an Israeli principal who did so is now facing potential suspension. She was approached by a group of students who were wrapped in Israeli flags, furious at her suggestion that the crisis in Gaza was not receiving sufficient media attention. As Reuters has reported, within Israel, there remains an attitude, an appetite for war, despite all of the casualties in Gaza. The same report refers to a Tel Aviv University poll from late October, which revealed only 10% of Israelis thought the army was using too much firepower. Only 10%. This just goes to show you the narrative in Israel, what people actually believe in Israel. And this will perhaps make the discrepancy in the narratives make more sense. For example, the videos of Israeli soldiers blowing up 56 homes in Shuja'iyah, they are not meant for us, but Israelis, as this Telegram post makes absolutely clear. The same goes for the actions that they performed in breach of the Geneva Convention, stripping Palestinian men and children to their underwear. These pictures that we saw, they are not for us. They are for audiences within Israel. These images came directly from Israeli media news channels, and we have previously made a video on this. The projection of an image of victory is crucial for the Israelis. And so, as Chaim Levinson writes for Haaretz, the lives of the Israeli spokesman are crucial in order to keep up the image that Israel is winning. So, a couple of questions arise. Why can't the IDF stay off TikTok? Why does the Israeli government not intervene and say, guys, stop posting these ridiculous videos on TikTok? And the answer to that question is, the reason why there's no intervention, the reason why there's no questioning with regards to what these soldiers are doing, is because, simply spoken, these videos are not for us. They are for audiences within Israel. Videos of Palestinians being humiliated, videos of Israeli soldiers shooting at nothing. These videos are not for us. They are for an audience that is still okay, generally speaking, of waging this war on Gaza. And so, when people outside of Israel see these videos, naturally, they are shocked, they cringe. People like you and I. But the reality of the matter that we need to bear in mind, and as we've mentioned, is that these videos are not for us. They are for an audience that has unfortunately become used to seeing Palestinians being dehumanized. And the fact that Palestinians or any race of people can be dehumanized in such a manner is absolutely terrifying. Everything, and I mean everything, that comes out of the mouths of these Israeli representatives towards Western audiences must be counterbalanced with the genocidal rhetoric that reigns supreme within the Zionist state of Israel.